Today we have another oddball Neo Geo release for all of you with Blues Journey. This one originally hit the platform back in 1991 and was developed by the awesome Alpha Denshi Corporation, who are the makers of the very underrated World Heroes series, which just so happens to also be on the Neo Geo. What makes Blues Journey so unique is that it's one of the only platformers on the Neo Geo. Now make no mistake about it, this isn't just some quick cash-in to say, oh, we have a platformer. No, this game actually had a lot of potential, but it never really reaches that full potential. Let's begin by looking at the audio-visual presentation. For the most part, this is one area that both delights and disappoints at the same time. For one thing, the variety in the levels is fantastic, and the overall level design itself is great. The problem is that the game just doesn't highlight the potential of the hardware that it's running on. As such, there really isn't very much detail in the backgrounds, and I always found the game could have ran on the Super Nintendo or the Sega Genesis. It just doesn't feel like a Neo Geo game at times, especially considering the small sprite sizes. That said, the game is stunningly colorful, and the music is very catchy, if a bit repetitive. In terms of gameplay, it's part Top Hunter and part Super Mario Bros. You can hop onto enemies to stun them, or you can use your magical leaf, which also stuns enemies, but then allows you to pick them up and hurl them at other enemies. The leaf can be powered up, and you can even acquire new weapons. Along the way, you'll collect money, which you can use to purchase said enhancements or new weapons. But you can also purchase upgrades for Blue himself to make him run a little bit faster, jump a little higher, etc. You can also press the C button to shrink down in size, and this is where all that potential I was saying earlier comes into play, because doing so allows you to traverse areas you wouldn't be able to access otherwise. Most of the levels have a secret area that can only be entered while Blue is tiny. It should be noted that you can't attack while small, however you do run faster and jump farther, so the trade-off is worth it. And I found this mechanic just wasn't used to its fullest potential, which is a real shame, because I would have designed so many different areas that would have taken advantage of this and would have forced players to go small, large, and so on. And it just doesn't really happen here. And that really is a shame, because this was a really unique mechanic for its time. After the initial 2 jungle stages, the game opens up and lets you take one path between 2 options. In total, there are 5 different worlds with 2 branches, meaning you only have to play 3 of the 5 stages. Now, that doesn't mean levels. There are multiple levels per stage. This was done to keep the quarters flowing and to give players a little bit of choice. Once everything is said and done, there's a fair amount to see and do in Blues Journey, and thanks to the Arcade Archives collection, the game isn't nearly as challenging as it once was. Between the fairly close checkpoints, the unlimited credits, and all the different gameplay options you have, this is actually a manageable game. Blues Journey may not be remembered for pushing the Neo Geo hardware to its limits, but it's remembered for being a fun and unique offering that's well worth checking out.